Do you block competing? Can't get your best performance during a game? Stay here and see these tips. First of all, you have to understand that the thought cannot be avoided. We have to change it for another. It's very difficult to stay focused if we have death moments when we have nothing to do, nor anything to think about. What you have to look for is to avoid having periods of time in which you are not doing anything. For this, it's very important to know what to do at the end of the game, between points, before and after the game. In addition, it's extremely important to understand the different focus points and when and how to use each one. First of all, the pre-match. You have to do a great warm-up. Good physical warm-up will help you to make the blood come to your head, think clearly, and also be prepared. Raise your heart rate and activate your muscles on your head, including reaction exercises with a reactive ball or with a person that helps you will be pretty good. But today is about the mental, and at this point, how to approach the game. We must distinguish between two different situations. Do I know the rival? Do I know how he plays? Or have I already played against him? Or on the other hand, I have no idea about him and I don't have any information at all. So I don't know how to raise the match. If I know the other player, I can adapt my game to those points where I can hurt him the most, and I will enter the game looking just for that. We'll save those early analyses and we start dealing damage him. So what to do if I don't have any idea about my rival? I have to keep in mind that I'm going to try to get all the information about the rival during the warm-up. So before the game, I have to use that time to get all the information I can. The warm-up should be a time to obtain information about the opponent's blows, moves, weaknesses, strengths, all that you can collect. And from there, that information to create a plan. That is why it's very important to warm up outside the court, because the game starts in the warm-up. During the rally, we have to analyze all his forehands, backhands, movements, step work, everything. And that information will give us some guidelines to know how to create damage and how to avoid him to make us play less. It's also very important to have a gameplay, a few different gameplays. Like this, you can just adapt to the player. You will have like a carpet with A, B, C, D plans, and you can choose which one of your gameplays can be better for that match. I encourage you to create your own plan. At least you should have 2 or 3 game plans. So the next step will be to focus on what we have to do between points. Here, between points, is where we have to maintain concentration, focus, and attention to prevent thoughts that distract us or block us. It's in this little time between finishing one point and playing the next one when we have to work on 2 aspects: activation and analysis. How do we work on activation between points? At the end of the point, we have to lower the heart rate to save energy, and while we let the blood come back to the head to oxygenate and think clearly, so we can use that time and that process to start thinking on the analysis. But how we will lower our heart rate? We will achieve this with our breathing, which in turn will help us lower our heart rate and our consumption. And how we analyze between points? We will use a technique known as the sandwich technique. It consists on following 3 steps. First of all, we will analyze what we have done well or raise it well. Then we will look for what has not gone well. And finally, we will focus on motivation. We have to motivate ourselves and activate ourselves because we have to be ready for the next point. So, what do we have to do between games? At the end of the game, we have to do something very important. Here, we have to stop thinking about ourselves and we have to think about the rival, about the other player. Just as between points we analyze ourselves, our decisions, approaches and executions, at the end of the game, we have to change the focus towards the rival. Well, the reality is that we never stop thinking about the opponent. But at this moment, we have to analyze the strategy that we follow in the broader strokes. While during the game, we do it by analyzing how each point has been. Between games, we'll do it by analyzing the general tactic that we have proposed for that game. Next, we will consider whether it is necessary to change the strategy, adjust it, or just maintain it in the same way. There's also something very important that we must do all the time. Focus on our heart rate and breathing. With this, we will seek to maintain the level of activation that we need for each moment. Before playing, we will raise the pulsations, and at the end of the point, we will lower them. This way, we will save energy and we will have another aspect on which to focus our attention, also avoiding that our concentration is lost. After the game, at the end of the match, we have to take notes, really. We have to take notes, analyzing both our approach and performance and also the other player. I advise you to take notes over all the players that you face, pointing out their strengths and weaknesses. By taking these notes at the end of the game, you will have that very fresh information, and it will come in handy for when you have to create the playing game to face them again. Routines. Have you ever seen Nadal obsessively playing his water bottles, or spend a few seconds drying exactly on the same way just before a serve? It's no coincidence that one of the players of the circuit with the most hobbies is also one of the strongest mentally. And it's that if we have very clear and patterned routines, we will spend some time thinking about them and carrying them out. And in that space of time in which we always do something that we know, it's where we feel safe. We will also be guiding the moment of thinking about carrying out the strategies that we have taught just before. If I spend time on my routines, I don't spend time thinking about another stuff. Another tip, use the court. How to use the court? Okay, at the end of the point, go to the towel, dry off, and use that time to do the sandwich technique. Before serving, bounce the ball always the same time and fix your gaze on a point common to all the tennis courts, like the net tape, the opponent's hands, the net post, and then look at the ball. This will help you to start concentrating on the ball before it gets moving. Take advantage of rest time. You have a few seconds between games. Even if the other player goes, use that time to work on your breathing and analysis. Make the moment of sitting in the chair be useful and do not cut it. If your rival does not use it, better for you. Thank you so much for seeing this video. Please leave a comment and thank you.